Hey, welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast. And today we're diving into a unique endurance challenge, something that I've always wanted to learn about because as a cyclist riding out in Lexington and Concord, we run into this group every April. There are these military folks and civilians who appear to be walking great distances with backpacks. So it's a really unique event that combines physical grit with a powerful mission. And I'm talking about Tough Ruck. And the participants in this event, I believe they're called Tough Ruck Nation, are a group of military members, first responders, and civilians whose sole purpose is to ruck in honor and memory of our fallen service members, police, firefighters, and EMTs. Participants carry the names of the fallen comrades and raise funds to support warriors and the families of the fallen. So very cool. And joining us today, we have the race director of Tough Ruck since the event's inception in 2012, Sarah Sweeney. And we have Jeffrey Paolino, a 5-time participant and a U.S. Air Force veteran. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Good to have you. And so today I wanted to kind of dive into the event, but I think we need to start with the basics. I'm going to ask Jeff first. So listeners, Jeff, can you explain what the heck rucking is? I mean, it's something the military's been doing forever, right? Like, what is rucking?
So rucking essentially is you can either run, walk, jog, whichever you choose, with a rucksack, backpack. But the key to it is it has to be weighted. Distance can be whatever you choose. Specifically for Tough Ruck, it's the 26.2 full marathon. So that's the distance there. But yeah, rucking in general, just as long as it's a weighted vest or weighted ruck.
Very good. So I did a little research, and there was this company that sort of created this civilian, I guess, experience. It's called Go Ruck. I don't know if you've heard of this company. It was founded by a Green Beret, and they introduced rucking, and then from there it sort of seemed to take off. So, the term ruck is a concept for the act of walking with the backpack, but also there's the rucksack. So, so you've been doing this for what? You're a 5-time participant, but I'm assuming you were rucking before this event.
So no, actually, my first one was Tough Ruck in 2017, and that really propelled me to not only do these physical challenges, but it helped with my own personal strength training, weight training regimen. It really it was a life changer for me, to be honest with you.
So you're an endurance athlete, right? Like you run and you cycle, you're a triathlete?
Yeah, so just recently, maybe as the last 2-3 years, I picked up triathlons, doing the swim, bike, run, done a couple half Ironmans, and then I just completed my first full Ironman.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Did you ruck to train for your triathlon?
So actually, it's been working out really well because I've been able to incorporate the ruck training into my actual runnings. Instead of just running, I don't know, maybe 5, 10, 15 miles at a time, I'm also adding the rucking into it. So it's a multifaceted training.
Wow. I heard it burns 40% more calories than just straight up walking.
At least it's a lot of sweat equity.
So I might have to throw my backpack on next time I go out and do my neighborhood walk to, burn off that piece of cake I had.
It's worth, I mean, even if you're adding like your hydration source, your food into the backpack, I mean, you're still carrying some weight there. So you'd be surprised.
Yeah. So Sarah, let's dive into Tough Ruck itself. Set the stage for us. So where does this take place?
Sure. So Tough Ruck today takes place in the historic Concord community, just about a half an hour outside of Boston. Tough Ruck began with Boston with our small group of 18 ruckers, originally rucking on the Boston Marathon course. That was the first year of Tough Ruck, was the year also of the Boston Marathon bombing. And Tough Ruckers had left Hopkinton about 4 a.m. And at that point, we were requiring 50 pounds plus. So these 18 folks stepped off, completed the marathon, and were meeting with families of fallen service members at the finish line shortly before the explosions. And so some of the most I do see of the folks who ran towards danger to help people. And there were so many that day. A few of those stories belong to the Tough Ruckers. And with the generous support of the BAA and the Boston Marathon, we've been able to continue this tradition of rucking off-site for security purposes. It's also allowed the event to grow from 18 to 1,000 athletes. With the, again, continued support of the Boston Athletic Association, Tough Ruckers receive the first of the official Boston Marathon medals every year.
That's incredible.
Wonderful connection to Boston, to the BAA, but also we get the great excitement of bringing this event back to Concord and the original Patriots Day, where it all began, the shot fired around the world. So one of the unique pieces of Tough Ruck is we start our marathon crossing the Old North Bridge in the historic Minuteman National Park, where our forefathers walked, fought, protected our freedoms, and each one of our athletes begins their journey over this bridge.
Do you collaborate with the National Park Service?
We do. We have wonderful support from the National Park Service, the municipalities of Concord, Lexington, Lincoln, and Bedford, which our route travels through. We're very fortunate to have a wonderful relationship as well with, as you mentioned, you're a cyclist, the Friends of Minuteman Bikeway.
Yes. Shout out to them.
They do a wonderful job supporting all sorts of different athletes on their busy trails.
So where does the event actually starts at the North Bridge?
We start right outside of the North Bridge. We have found a home at the Fenn School, which is a wonderful private boys' school in Concord. And we're able to stage ourselves and have our own finish line with wonderful touches that the Boston Marathon brings out there for us, as well as being able to just head right into Minuteman National Park.
Wow. So that explains why, the folks in my cycling group see you, because our loop actually is Lexington, Concord, Bedford, Lincoln. We have this little 30-mile loop, and it's like on that particular morning, which is the day before the marathon?
It is. It's the day before Boston.
So that's a Sunday, and that's usually our Sunday group ride, and that explains why we see you every year. Give you guys a shout out and a thumbs up. So the distance, so it's a marathon distance, and it's essentially a walk, but it seems to be more than a walk. Like what do the folks experience on race day or event day? Do you call it a race or?
We call it a marathon? I can let Jeff speak a little bit more to the experience on the course and sort of the impact, and I think especially what for any endurance athlete, anyone who's done a marathon, anyone who's done, any distance that they feel is a challenge. I mean, you always get to that point, right, where it starts to hurt and you feel it.
Yeah.
And I think, for us, that typically is around 18 miles for a lot of our folks. And, each rucker on their rucksack as they're marching carries the names of fallen military and first responders. And a lot of these folks have personal connections to the names that they're carrying. And it's certainly, it is a marathon. It is a wonderful aspect of it, the endurance piece, but it's also a mission to be able to complete this for those who can no longer. And one of the really unique parts, sort of jumping ahead, but to the end of the race, is that everyone who completes the 26.2 miles receives their finisher's medal from a family of a fallen military or first responder.
Oh, that's incredible.
And so they come out, they have a chance, one-on-one to, at the end of this huge accomplishment, to really meet the people for who they're doing this for. And I think that connection is so unique.
That is.
When you're feeling like your ankles are giving out, we focus a lot on, we get a lot of foot injuries. That's a lot of blister, a lot of wraps going on. But, when you feel like you've lost enough toenails and you can't go any further, I think the mission itself to honor the fallen and then raise these critical funds to support their families is what keeps a lot of folks going. We do miss the cheers on Heartbreak Hill that we are, the path well. It's a beautiful wooded, more area where there's not as many folks cheering along the way, but we've got these wonderful communities that come out to our different hydration and aid stations, and just, come on out. We encourage the community to come out. There's certainly a chance throughout the day. We are, our first folks step off 7:20, And then we stop timing after 9 hours, but we stay till the bitter end. So
Where does it where does
it finishes right back at the Fenn School.
Okay, so it's a loop.
It is a loop.
So let's ask Jeff about, what's it like to participate in this event? What should folks expect?
I would expect, for me, it's a satisfaction of camaraderie that's there during the race, and super motivating to go there, to see other service members, civilians supporting military families and service members. That's the biggest thing for me.
Do you find a group to ruck with?
I usually connect with one of the Air Force cadets. I'll find a group there, or if I'm rucking with some of my buddies, I'll kind of just stay with them. But in the back of my mind, it's also a race, so I try to go as fast as I possibly can to beat my personal times each year. But the experience throughout the course, as Sarah was saying, by mile 18, it's pretty grueling. Blisters along the way. The support of the volunteers is amazing. They keep everybody going. And it being in mid-April, it can be, we start off, like Sarah also said, 7:20 in the morning. So it can be like, 40 degrees out, and you're freezing. And by the end of it, you could be in the mid-50s. So a bit of a temperature change there. So you got to kind of expect anything. Knock on wood, I haven't experienced any, I don't even want to say it because Sarah will really jinx it, but the weather conditions have been pretty good. So
Nice. So you mentioned it's not really a race, but I have to ask this because I'm competitive. So what kind of times, are you trying to crack each year? And even though you're trying to beat your time from the previous year, are you sort of helping out your fellow comrades if someone is sort of hurting out there?
Pushing people along. I'm staying with people that are struggling along the way. There was a couple cadets that were having a tough time. You stop, give them a little motivational pep talk, keep them going, stay with them. It is a race, but it's also, this is about the fallen service members, really. You want to finish, you want to do the best time as possible. For me,
are folks running?
I try to, yeah, definitely. Sarah can kind of speak to the best times out there. I'm usually within under 5 hours. I try to be.
Wow. And how much?
Our top athletes, I think last year our top finisher
3 hours,
just under 4, with a 45-pound ruck. So they ran all the way.
Can I choose what my weight is?
We do have 2 divisions. There is a lightweight division and a heavyweight division. So lightweight is 15 pounds plus and heavyweight is 35 pounds plus. So one of the things I will say is that we get a lot of repeat folks that come back, which we love. We also get a lot of new athletes, people new to rucking. And I always say, if you can walk, you can ruck. It is a very accessible sport. I think you mentioned some of the rucking outfitters, the different companies that sell rucks, things like that. I think if anyone goes online and searches rucking Instagram and looks at that, you'll see that it really is sort of this appeal of a broad community. So we have a lot of folks who are out there for the first time, trying this, doing this, many of them finishing it, many of them using the first year to see how far their bodies can go, and coming back the second year, getting ready to cross.
What are some common mistakes for first timers who ruck at your event?
I can give you my experience. I went into 2017 without training a single bit, and that was very regrettable. Very difficult walking afterwards. Blisters were horrendous. I didn't think I was going to recover from that, but yeah, it was a lesson learned. Lots of training for the following years. But yeah, hydration is key as well. Nutrition.
Are you showing up in military boots or hiking boots or running shoes? Like, what are you doing this in?
So a lot of people they're showing up in full military uniform, their boots. Yeah. They're not messing around.
What about you at sub 5 hours? What are you showing up in?
I'm in civilian like gym shorts. I'm doing whatever possible to get me through. That's it. My sneakers.
Sounds good. Okay, so you mentioned training. You didn't train the first year. Like, so what do you recommend for folks to do for training? Is it simply just walking with a backpack, or is it weightlifting? Is it running? Like, what should we do?
I mean, I would say whatever you're comfortable doing. Me personally, I'll do three weekends of 8 miles, bump that up to 3 more weekends of 12 miles, go to 16, and then I'll try to do two weekends of 20 if time's permitting. But
Wow,
yeah, that's my regimen.
that's cool.
And we do see people sort of carrying, trying to train with weight above the weight that they're planning to participate in. And,
Yes.
if there's a balance of the weight versus the distance. And, even if you're training 5 pounds above what you plan to ruck with, when you drop that weight, you feel it and you
You feel
feel
like lightweight feather.
exactly. And I would say, one of the things that we see a lot, especially with first time ruckers, is how to pack your ruck, right? And so the ruck is really a piece of military gear that is used out in combat and theater. They take the ruck and have everything they need, right? You're self-contained. And so when you figure this for Tough Ruck, you're carrying your hydration, your fuel, your change of socks, any first aid care, all of that in your ruck. But when you pack the heavier weight higher, as opposed to having everything sit in the bottom of your ruck, you're having a much different experience from an athlete's point of view. When you're carrying all that weight around your waist and the bottom of your back, that is a much harder event, an event that you're going to have much more injuries that probably occur with it. So I always say pack your weight high. And a
So,
lot of people
okay, so I
like
have to show up.
a pillow underneath all that heavy weight that you're putting in there.
So what are you putting? Am I putting in like a barbell? Like what are folks putting in here?
I usually use plates. Yeah, I'll just slip some plates into the rucksack. 10, couple tens and a 5. And just make sure they're secure so they're not moving around like Sarah said. I mean, the placement is crucial. You can really do some major back pain afterwards if you're not placing them correctly.
Interesting. So there's a technique here with weight packing. That's cool.
And you'll find that out during the training. Yeah, you'll get used to it. I mean, you do 8 miles, you're like, oh my gosh, that was super painful. You can just make the adjustment there. And I would also recommend, I know it's tough in the winter months to get out and do any outdoor rucking, but I would do that over, like, let's say a treadmill. It's just not the same.
Well, listen, this is the New England Endurance Podcast, and the folks that listen and are part of this community, like they're gritty, they're tough. They'll go out there and do that. So
And I got
Sarah,
a couple things to show real quick.
what do you got? Let's see.
So I've got our coin from last year.
Very cool.
Got last year's finisher medal.
Wow.
So you can see that's the official Boston Marathon medal with a specific ribbon for Tough Ruck. And we're really honored to keep that tradition.
That is such a cool collaboration. Wow. Anything else back there? I see. What is this? Is this like a huge display of your achievements?
It is. I mean, again, this isn't about me, but yeah, it's all my recent races, some Ironmans, some local races.
Nice. So folks that are listening and can't see the podcast, we're looking at Jeff's sort of display case of medals here, which is very cool and makes me want to put something like that together for myself. So Sarah, the funds that are raised through Tough Ruck, they go toward assisting military families and first responders.
Correct.
Can you share some examples of maybe how the money has made an impact?
Sure. Be honored to. We are able to sort of take all of the, as Jeff talked about sweat equity, but also fundraising, right? Sometimes, and both of you do a number of different events, different causes, important causes. Sometimes the fundraising piece can be as challenging as the actual training. And so we really like to give as much support as possible to our athletes to be able to meet their fundraising goals. We have different levels that people can opt into. And obviously, the goal is to have those funds be able to directly reach our charity arm to support military and first responder families. One of the luxuries that we have with these funds is to be able to sort of quickly respond and cut through the red tape of, lots of good programs that exist out there, that exist certainly in government and local and community, but sometimes have a delay in service execution, if you will.
Okay.
We get to do some really fun, wonderful things like fly service members home for the birth of new babies.
Wow.
things like that are wonderful. But we also tend to use these funds to assist families really in their darkest moments. We have a family who has generously, the family of Officer Brian Sousa, who was MIT police officer. They are a huge, wonderful family that now comes out and sort of manages our major water station by Bedford Depot, which you know, right by the train station.
Yep, absolutely.
They are, I think, our most enthusiastic, well-fueled station. Just your traditional hydration, but lots of popsicles and energy and pizza. But we connected with this family after Officer Sousa passed away, and we were able to, thankfully, because of the Tough Ruckers, be able to take the burden of the funeral costs off the shoulders of that family very
Oh,
simply by
that's incredible.
them through another rucker who had gone to school with the officer and picked up the phone, asked, is there anything we can do? This is what we do. It doesn't change the landscape, right? Like these families have gone through horrific losses and different pieces, but it often will give families some breathing room or just one less thing to focus on so they can focus on what's important, which is being together and honoring the memory of their loved one. So we believe in direct, immediate support, that these funds go directly out to folks. And we're proud to say that 100% of the funds raised traditionally all go back to the charity. The registration fee traditionally covers our expenses and all of the good stuff that comes with keeping folks safe and doing a professional event, but that the fundraising 100% goes back to the charity.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. So the nonprofit charity for Tough Ruck Nation is Military Friends Foundation. Is that correct? Excellent. So folks who are listening, how can they get involved with either through participation or volunteering or donating? What do?
We would love to have you on the course. We are very pleased to host a sellout event every year. This year for 2025, Tough Ruck, the day before Boston, will be Sunday. It'll also be Easter Sunday. So we know that this happens every 5 or 6 years, I think. This is a year that we know folks may not be able to join and come back in 2026. But if you are able, so it's 75% sold out.
And what is the cost?
The cost to register is $125, and then you can choose from a variety of fundraising minimum options, with it starting at committing to raise $450.
Sounds reasonable to me.
We like to keep it accessible. We have not
for a great cause.
We've increased that in a decade, I want to say. But if you are not up to Rucking this year, if you're up to joining a water station, a cheering squad, we are always looking for folks with medical experience to be able to help out with our foot and ankle care along the course.
Mm-hmm.
And especially come on out to the beautiful historic town of Concord and cheer on at the finish line. We are there all day. So if you have an hour or two on April 19th and you want to come on out and cheer on these folks, see what they're doing, it really does mean a lot. It really does. And so the information for the course and the information for different locations for viewing and cheering will be online starting in the new year at toughruck.org.
Has it ever come down to a photo finish with the two leaders?
Oh. We usually, I have to say, I think the last few years, the top finishers have been some ROTC cadets who are really getting their run on. I don't know if they've had them that close. They definitely have been within, a minute of each other.
Oh. What's the course record? Just curious for the heavy rucksack.
Heavyweight. We did have someone heavyweight coming under 4.
Wow.
Yeah, mostly it's over. We had one year, and yeah, I know. And he was in our 50, I think 50 to 60 category. So.
All right, a veteran masters athlete putting the hammer down.
Right. Well, it's funny. So we have we have quite a few folks even in our 60 to 70, and then a handful above. But we really do have the whole gamut.
And how many folks typically show up? Is it about 1,000 people?
We sell out at 1,000, and we are, as I mentioned, so fortunate to receive the first of the 1,000 official marathon medals. So that's where our cap is. And we have had participation typically from over 40 states. It's amazing to see the people that come in and and want to be part of this community. And inevitably, I don't know, Jeff's probably experienced this, but, especially the military and first responder community, they run into someone they haven't seen in 20 years or went to boot camp with and, randomly reconnected here at Tough Ruck. And so we love the fact that this keeps folks connected with each other. And let's face it, I mean, the physical aspect of it, the community aspect, this is all good for our mental health. And that's something that we
Absolutely
focus on with this.
I mean, you're going through Hanscom Air Force Base, right? So you must
little
get a bunch of folks from Hanscom.
We do. We have a good representation of the Air Force. I was going to say, Jeff, you can, but we had all branches last year, as well as all police, Department of Corrections, and excited to get the Space Force out there Rucking for the past few years as well. Our newest branch of service.
Jeff, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think going back to our senior veterans, I think that's a huge motivating factor for me, seeing them out on the course and seeing them absolutely smoke some of the younger folks out there, myself included. They could be twice my age and they're absolutely flying. Some of them with cigars in their hands.
No.
It's like, wow, I can't. Oh yeah, they're moving.
The thing is, when you're rucking, right? Like if you're going to pass somebody, you're not passing somebody at great speed. It's like this. It's this sort of
It's
not
like a
slow,
turtle going by.
Exactly, but all of a sudden they're out of sight.
Right.
What else would you like to share with our audience as we start to wind down this episode?
I say, you know what? If the 26.2 is intimidating, I think anybody can do it. You set your mind to it. There is a time limit to it, but go out there, walk, support a great cause. Do whatever you can do to just stay active. It's a physical challenge, but I mean, 2017, I never thought I'd be doing it. So really, if I can do it, anybody can get out there and do it.
Anything else, Sarah? That's a good ending there, Jeff. Thank you.
I think Jeff hit the nail on the head, and we just encourage folks to check it out, join the community, and we really would welcome you for 2025.
Awesome. I might have to, put on a rucksack here and give this a go.
I was going to say, we didn't put any peer pressure on you during the first part of the interview, but, we usually like to do at least the soft sell here at the end.
It just seems like great training for folks who like to hike. I feel like I've seen folks, as an ex-rower, we used to see folks show up to the Harvard Stadium with, rucksacks. And I was like, oh, maybe they're training for something. It's something I definitely want to give a go here. But I wanted to, so this is great. You guys came on. Thank you both very much, Sarah and Jeff, and for joining us today and hearing about this incredible event that's right in our backyard for folks that live in this area. It's a powerful reminder of the strength of both the human body and the spirit of community. So thank you so much, both of you, for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
And before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment to express our gratitude on the New England Endurance Podcast for our military members, our first responders and their families. Your sacrifices and service inspire us all. And events like the Tough Ruck remind us of the debt we owe to those who have served and to the memory of our fallen heroes. So thank you all out there for what you do. And to our listeners, if you've been inspired by today's episode like I have, please visit toughruck.org. I will also tag them on our Instagram page, which is at New England Endurance. And as always, keep pushing your limits. And until next time, rain, snow, or shine, get out there and enjoy the beautiful terrain of New England. Thank you.